Hey, what's going on, guys? This Saturday is UFC 295, Jiri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira for the vacant light heavyweight title. And this is going to be my full breakdown and prediction. I've already done a full card prediction video. If you want to check that out, I'll link it down in the description as well as the end cards. But this main event, I mean, does it get much more exciting on paper than Jiri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira for the vacant title? I absolutely love this fight. And I'm really hopeful the light heavyweight division can finally move on because it seems like it's been stuck in neutral really since 2020. It's almost 2024. You had John Jones vacate the belt in 2020. Jan Blachowicz wins, then defends against Israel Adesanya, then drops the belt to Glover Teixeira. Then you have Glover Teixeira drop the belt to Jiri Prochazka in 2022 in one of the best fights of the year. They're scheduled for a rematch. And unfortunately, a couple weeks before the fight, Jiri Prochazka injures his shoulder in training, requires surgery, vacates the belt because he's going to be out for a while. Well, they decided, okay, let's do a vacant title fight at UFC 282. So we get Magomed Ankalaev versus Jan Blachowicz for the vacant title. It ends in a draw. So the very next pay-per-view, on short notice, they do Jamal Hill versus Glover Teixeira. Jamal Hill wins the belt, and finally we think, okay, order is restored. We're going to get Jamal Hill versus Jiri Prochazka later in 2023. Well, then Jamal Hill tears his Achilles playing basketball, and now we have a vacant belt again. And technically, I don't think it's vacant just yet. I think the UFC is waiting for it to be technically vacated once both these guys are in the cage at UFC 295. I think that's the way they're doing it. So technically, Jamal Hill's still the champion. But the second that Jiri and Pereira are in the cage on Saturday, it will be officially vacated as soon as the fight starts. But I'm just happy. Hopefully, we get to see the division move on. I hope the winner of this fight gets to take on Jamal Hill. Hopefully, Jamal Hill can return in the middle of 2024 or spring of 2024. But, I mean, this is a banger matchup. You have an absolute wild man in Jiri Prochazka, a guy who never lost a belt. So, in a way, it's like this is his first title defense. And then you have Alex Pereira, former middleweight champion, who finished Israel Adesanya last November in Madison Square Garden, has since moved up a weight class, got a win over Jan Blachowicz, and now he's fighting for a title. I never thought we'd see Alex Pereira in a light heavyweight title fight this soon. I thought he had to fight one or two times at light heavyweight, considering we were going to get Jamal Hill, Jiri Prochazka. It would have been around this time frame, so my guess is Pereira would have fought early next year or late this year, and then if he would have won that fight, he would have been number one contender. But now we're getting Jiri versus Pereira much earlier than anyone expected. And to be honest, on paper, I don't think you can get much more of a compelling matchup than this. Jiri Prochazka may be the most exciting fighter in the UFC. And then you have Alex Pereira, who's a sniper on the feet with nasty power and basically all his limbs. He's a former champion looking to become a double champion, not simultaneously, obviously. But this is a great matchup that I'm really looking forward to. Now, if you look at the tail of the tape for this fight, you have Jiri Prochazka, who's 29-3-1. Alex Pereira is 8-2. Prochazka is ranked number 1. Pereira is ranked number 3. Prochazka is 31. Pereira is 36. Prochazka is 6'3", Pereira is 6'4", and they both have an 80-inch reach advantage. So a slight height advantage for Pereira and a significant youth advantage for Jiri Prochazka. If you look at Alex Pereira, 6 wins by KO, 2 wins by decision. His 2 losses in MMA, 1 comes via TKO and 1 comes via submission. He's only lost 1 time in the UFC, and that's to Israel Adesanya. His last fight was against Jan Blachowicz. It was a very close fight. I don't think either guy looked particularly good. It was in late July at UFC 291. I thought Jan Blachowicz won the fight, but I didn't think it was a blatant robbery, and both guys were like completely gassed in the second and third round. Jan Blachowicz controlled him, took his back for the entirety of the first round, and then it was kind of a mix of both going on in the second and third. The fight before that, he got flatlined by Israel Adesanya, got over aggressive. Israel Adesanya, amazing at counters, flatlined him. The fight before that beat Israel Adesanya, was losing that fight, gets a 5th round stoppage. Then before that, a win that's aged quite well. He knocked out Sean Strickland with that left hook. That was back at UFC 276. And then before that, it's his first 2 UFC fights. What's crazy to me is, you look at Alex Pereira, this is his 7th UFC fight. Yeah, I think this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is his 7th UFC fight. That's crazy. And he's 8-2 in his pro MMA career. So he's only had 3 fights outside the UFC. Is that what that's insanity. He's only had 3 fights outside the UFC. That is straight up wild and kind of inexperienced, but he has a lot of kickboxing matches. I'm talking about MMA fights. I know everyone likes to say, oh, well, he's, 1-3 against Israel. I'm talking about MMA. We're talking about the sport of MMA. We're not talking about kickboxing. but he isn't experienced. But he kind of makes up for that because, I'm not totally excluding the fact that he has a lot of combat sports experience, former Glory champion, and all that stuff. I mean, he's been around the fighting game for a long time. You look at Jiri Prochazka, 25 wins via KO, TKO, 3 wins via submission, and 1 via decision. He has 3 losses, twice by KO, TKO, and once by submission. He's never lost by decision. Jiri Prochazka's been out for a while. He hasn't fought since UFC 275 in June of 2022. So it's coming up on a year and a half that Jiri Prochazka's been out. Basically, they took a while to book the rematch because that was a crazy fight. They both needed to recover. Then he had the shoulder injury. Fight before that took Dominic Reyes' soul with a spinning back elbow. Crazy fight. Jiri just marching forward, lands a spinning back elbow. Fight before that was his UFC debut where he KO'd Volkan Ozdemir. And this is even crazier. This is only Jiri's 4th fight in the UFC. That is insane. That is straight up insanity. Now, obviously, he has more experience because he has far more fights, but this is only his 4th fight in the UFC. And you look at all the 3 former fights, I mean, to get a rear naked choke over Glover Teixeira, that is crazy. You look at the Dominic Reyes fight, nasty KO. The Volkan Ozdemir fight, KO. I think I said 4 fights. I meant 3. Previous 3 fights. It's crazy. His last loss, you look at his career, he hasn't lost since 2015. He hasn't lost since 2015. So think about that. It is now 2023 going on 2024. That is straight up insanity. He has not lost in a long time. But I do worry about Jiri returning from the shoulder injury. When you're out for that long, you have ring rust. Plus, what if that shoulder's not the same? Jiri relies a lot on his movement and a lot on his pressure, and he just moves forward and tries to cut you off and throws wild, crazy techniques. And you have Alex Pereira, who is super technical on the feet, has nasty KO power, has a great mix of kicks and punches, but he doesn't have the grappling. Jiri Prochazka is far more well-rounded. He has a very wild style. Don't get me wrong. Pereira has the more technical striking, but Jiri just presses forward and causes chaos. And I also think Jiri has grappling in his back pocket. We saw the scrambles against Glover Teixeira. I understand that Glover trains with Pereira. Pereira's going to be ready. But Pereira, we've seen him out-grapple time and time again. Jan Blachowicz isn't even the best grappler. Took him down, took his back. Now, obviously, Pereira, there is some takeaways. Pereira avoided a submission, but Jan Blachowicz not known for his jiu-jitsu. You look at the Israel Adesanya first fight in MMA. I think it was the 3rd round. Adesanya took him down and controlled him like he was a Nurmagomedov. Now, I understand Pereira has okay takedown defense, but once you get him down there, it's very hard for him to get back up. And I don't think it's going to translate well to a higher weight class because before in middleweight, he had a massive size advantage on a lot of those guys. You even look back at the Andreas Michailidis fight in his UFC debut. Got taken down there in the first round and controlled a bit. I believe Bruno Silva got him down a couple times, if I'm not mistaken, as well. I understand that he's working on it, but I think up a weight class against a guy like Jiri Prochazka, I think if Jiri decides to mix in the grappling, he doesn't have to go all out grappling like Jan Blachowicz did. If he just mixes in the grappling, I don't think it's going to be good for Alex Pereira because once he gets taken down, he doesn't really have the jiu-jitsu to get back to his feet. And with the way I look at this fight, I think if Alex Pereira wins this fight, it has to be via KO. When I look at Jiri Prochazka, I think he can win via KO. I think he could submit Alex Pereira, and I also think he could win a decision. I think that'd be crazy if this fight went to decision, but I think Jiri Prochazka can really win any way that he wants. Meanwhile, Alex Pereira, I feel like he has to find a perfect shot and KO Jiri on the feet while Jiri's rushing in, and I think Alex Pereira is a bit overrated. People talk about his striking. Oh, his striking so great. His defensive striking ability isn't that great. A gassed 40-year-old Jan Blachowicz was landing on the feet, okay? Obviously, he gets KO'd by Israel Adesanya. That's not a horrible thing, but I'm just saying he gets clipped up. He takes quite a few punches. Israel rocked him in both their MMA fights. He would have finished him in the first fight had it not been saved by the bell. And Jiri Prochazka has different power. This guy hits different. And I know Jiri doesn't have the best defensive striking, but he has this unorthodox movement where he rushes in and dodges shots and creates chaos. And Pereira's the best when he's having kind of a slow-paced kickboxing match. Jiri's not going to give him that. Jiri's going to march him down, put him on the back foot. He's going to have this diverse moveset where he's throwing all different variety of attacks, spinning back elbows, kicks to the body, shooting on takedowns, mixing in the clinch. I think Jiri's going to mix it all together. I do. I think he's going to mix in the grappling. I don't think he's going to go all out and just grapple and look for a takedown, but I think he's going to mix everything together. And I just think unless you have a super clean shot land in the first round for Alex Pereira, I think Jiri wins this fight. I think he has too many paths to victory. And that's why my official prediction is Jiri Prochazka, 3rd round TKO. I think he gets it done. I think he's going to find a kill shot. Pereira was getting clipped up by Jan Blachowicz. He was completely gassed. That was a 3-round fight. I understand it was at elevation. But I don't think Pereira has the gas tank to go 5 hard rounds with a guy like Jiri. When it's a slower paced kickboxing match with Israel Adesanya, I think he can go 5 rounds. He finished Israel Adesanya in the 5th round. Jiri Prochazka is not going to give him that clean fight. Jiri's going to come out like a straight up wild man, throwing all different types of shots and just never let off the gas. It's going to be like, you know, constant pressure from Jiri. That's where Jiri Prochazka thrives. And of course, can Pereira clip him on the chin with that left hook and put him to sleep? Yes, but I think Pereira's power up a weight class is going to be diminished. It's not going to translate as well to the light heavyweight division as powerful as he was in the middleweight division. And it's not even like he put Israel Adesanya out cold. The only guy he put out cold was Sean Strickland. Well, I guess he put out Andreas Michailidis. He didn't put out Bruno Silva. He put out Andreas Michailidis. That was with a flying knee. He put out Israel Adesanya, or he put out Sean Strickland. Okay, that was a left hook, but he just TKO'd Israel Adesanya standing, and that was a little bit of an early stoppage. I think he would have found the finish anyway. But the point is, Jiri is known for his chin. That chin is eventually going to give out, and maybe this is the fight. I don't think it is. He's had time off. He's refreshed from that Glover Teixeira war. I do worry about the ring rust. I do wonder, you know, how he's going to perform coming in after a year and a half off. But I think the pressure of Jiri Prochazka, the wild, unorthodox striking of Jiri Prochazka, I know he keeps his hands low. So it's almost like, in my mind, I understand a lot of people's thought process, like, oh, Pereira has cleaner striking. Jiri's a wild man. He leaves his chin exposed. Of course Pereira's going to KO him. I don't think that's the case because Pereira's not going to get an opportunity to really set his feet. You're going to see Jiri just press forward. He's going to clinch up occasionally. He's going to land big shots. And I don't think Pereira's chin is as good as Jiri Prochazka's chin. I think both guys are going to land big shots in this fight. It wouldn't shock me if Pereira rocks Jiri in the 1st round. It wouldn't shock me if this is one of those crazy, wild fights like Glover Teixeira. But I think in an all-out war, when you have a chaotic fight, who are you going to pick in this fight? If this ends up being a wild, crazy fight of the night, you have to go with Jiri Prochazka. He has more tools. He has more ways to win. He's known for his chin, and he has the stamina to go 5 hard rounds. Look what he did against Glover Teixeira. 5th round rear naked choke. Who would have ever called that? So even if, let's say, Pereira's piecing up Jiri early, I think Jiri can absorb those shots, and I think he's going to be like, okay, well, I have to grapple now. I think he could do that. And mixing in the grappling, when Pereira starts getting worried about the grappling like he was against Jan Blachowicz was gassed. His hands were down at his waist and was still landing shots in the 2nd and 3rd round. So I think Jiri, there's no way Jiri's going to wear down to the amount that Jan Blachowicz wear down in their last fight. And again, that was at elevation, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. And also, Pereira's chin could be much better at 205. He took some shots from Jan Blachowicz, but Jan Blachowicz didn't have the power because he was completely gassed as well. And I just think Jiri is known for his brutal KO power. He's known for his chaotic style. He's known for his chin. He's known for his, you know, I talk about it with Dricus all the time. Like, they have this unbelievable amount of heart. We talk about heart all the time in MMA, but there's certain guys that just stick out above the rest. Jiri Prochazka is one of those guys. If you are going to war, if you have a crazy, chaotic fight, you have to go Jiri Prochazka. So the only way I see Pereira winning this fight is like 1st or 2nd round KO, where Jiri just makes a mistake. He's coming in wildly. He eats a clean shot and just gets put to sleep. But I don't think Pereira can do that because Jiri's good at rolling with shots. You know, I'm watching, you know, older fights. He's rolling with shots very well because he's so chaotic. And I get it. Pereira has a nasty left hand, but I think Jiri can take a couple of those and can survive. I think he can get hurt by Pereira and survive. And Pereira's going to wear down, and then he's going to start to wilt because he's not going to be able to get off on his back foot. Because Pereira does best when he's marching forward. I talked about it in the Israel Adesanya rematch. He does best when he's marching forward and having a clean striking match. Jiri's not going to give him that. He's going to walk him down. He's going to put him on the back foot, and he's going to be throwing all these crazy shots. And I think eventually one of those shots is going to land on Pereira's chin. He's going to put him to sleep. And honestly, as I'm talking about this right now, I almost want to change my prediction to like a 1st or 2nd round KO for Jiri Prochazka. So don't be surprised if it's an earlier KO for Jiri, because I think if he finds the chin, I think Jiri has some of the nastiest power in all the light heavyweight division. So I see Jiri putting him to sleep, but I'm going to go 3rd round TKO. And actually, I'm going to say KO. You know, I know TKO and KO is kind of the same thing, but TKO is more of follow-up shots. They're not completely out. I think in the 3rd round, Pereira's going to be getting a little bit tired. He's going to be exhausted from backing up and wilting to the pressure of Jiri. He's going to have landed some good shots on Jiri, but Yuri's not going to stop. He's not going to get he's not going to get the respect of Jiri. And I think as the fight moves on, I think Yuri's just going to keep pressing forward and have that crazy chaotic onslaught. And I think Yuri's power is going to land on Alex Pereira's chin in the third round. And I'm going Jiri Prochazka, brutal third round KO. I think he absolutely puts Alex Pereira to sleep, probably with a flashy technique. I'm going to say mid-third round KO with a spinning back elbow from Jiri Prochazka for a super specific prediction. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much for watching.